Hello students, in this module we'll be doing explanation of your third poem, The Bangle Sellers by Sarojini Naidu. So before we move further with the explanation of the poem, we'll read about the poet, the poetess in fact, Sarojini Naidu, and she is one of the very well-renowned English poetess from India, and she has been bitterly criticized by modern and poets and critics. She was born in 1879 in Hyderabad and received her education mainly from Hyderabad itself in India and then later England. She began her poeting or writing career at the age of 12, and her first collection of poems were The Golden Threshold, appeared in 1905, The Feathers of Dawn, and as you can say was published after in 1961, and that was after her death. It was published by her daughter. Here we can say that another important thing that you can mention about the poet whenever it is asked, that he was given a title, and that was the Nightingale of India, and she was actively involved in the freedom struggle of India, the country itself. After independence, she became the governor of UP state, and she passed away in 1949. So that means in 1961, when her collection of poems were published, it was almost after 12 years of her death. Here we see that about this poem, The Bangle Seller was a poem which was first brought in her collection of poems, and that was titled The Bird of Time. Here she has mentioned about the beautiful colors of bangles and how bangles make women of India happy and they adorn themselves in the different stages of their life. She has also mentioned the different stages of a life of a woman, and they are mainly the youth or the young age when they are adolescent girls. Then second stage is basically that of a bride, and the third stage is of that of a mother and a wife and a homemaker. So these three stages have been mentioned in this poem as the three stages of life of a woman in India, and how all these stages are basically, you can say, connected with different colors of bangles, and how these bangles appeal to these ladies and show or give us different significance to their proper standing in the life at that particular moment or that particular stage of their life. We can say the narrator uses beautiful imagery to describe the bangles for the maiden's wrist and for the unmarried girls lost in the dreams of, you can say, happy marriage and all those things. And then various similes have been shown. Similarly, the feelings and desires of a bride, a new bride and a bride to be, what goes in her mind, what goes in her heart, what are her feelings, all that have been, you can say, summed up by the colors of the bangles that she is supposed to wear or she wears. And similarly, the dignity and the respect a woman gets at the end of the age in the third stage, when she has nursed her children, when she has looked after her husband's household, that time what respect, honor is given to her, that has been mentioned through the bangles. Another important thing about the poem is that it talks about the Indian scenario, not of the modern age but of the age when it was written, and that is why we can say women, those who were widow, those who were outcasted at that time, those who were outcast, so those women usually were not supposed to wear the bangles. Bangles or all the, you can say, jewelry was basically a way of adorning the women who have their husbands or those who are unmarried or about to get married. So it was basically a piece of jewelry which was supposed to adorn those who have their life full blooming, not those who had lost their husbands. As well as, you can say, it also shows the Indian scenario at that time. Losing a husband meant that the woman has lost her identity, all the things in her life, and that is why she was not even allowed for all these things. Here we can say another important thing that has been shown in the poem, but not very significantly, but in slight hints, is the patriarchal society, which is also one of the theme, the patriarchy, because even when the person is talking about the women, he is talking about, you can say, the dignity which the women gets at the end of the age is basically a hard earned position that she gets in the religious ceremonies, and that too not as the one leading the ceremony, but a big achievement, a great achievement for a woman is to sit next to her husband and perform the ceremony. It is something which it still shows the dominance of the male society, males in the society and the household. So that is one of the things which have been very slightly touched and shown to the audience to understand in the significant way. And even they are talking about those who have proudly nursed their children, young sons. It is something which is gender related. They are not talking about young children, they are not talking about young sons and daughters. It says fair sons. So that means that is the outlook of Indian society, that those women are given more respect and feel more proud, those who have looked after their children as sons, not as you can say girl child or something. So that, you can say, they are the tidbits and the hints which are given of a patriarchal society. Next, we can say another important theme of the poem is womanhood. You can say this poem entirely, in its entirety, it celebrates womanhood. Although it's not something celebrating the womanhood as per the modern society, but even as per the old, that kind of scenario which the poem talks about, it is talking about the happiness of the women, how young daughters and young wives feel happy with the bangles, how these colors fill their lives, and these colors, or the lustrous and radiant tokens of love, they radiate the happiness and the good things in their life through the various colors, the sun, rainbow tinted colors, and all those things have been shown. Imagery from the nature has been taken to show the happiness and the inner feelings of the women, and whatever feelings they get or drive through these bangles. Here we talk about more about the title. Now, so far you must have heard me saying, everybody saying that this title is very apt for the poem, but over here this is quite a reverse. Here we will not say that the title is very apt for the poem. Why it is inapt? Because when we are talking about the poem Bangle Sellers, besides leaving the first two lines, we do not talk about the bangle sellers anywhere in the poem. It is all about the bangles and how they affect, or what's the impact of the bangles and the colors and their lustrous tokens and radiant lives, and all those things we are talking, their impact and influence on the women, those who are wearing it. What are the colors, and what do those colors signify, and their particular reference to different stages of life, that has been mentioned in the poem. But nowhere it has been mentioned about the bangle seller, their life. They are shown as happy, but it might be just that they are pretending to be happy because they cannot be selling their products, being a long sad face. So they are just at the temple gates and temple fair, and they are trying to sell and run after the people to get them to buy the bangles. After that, we are not shown any particular hardships, any particular ways how they are getting their earning, and so nothing is mentioned about bangle seller. So calling this poem as Bangle Seller is inapt. The title of the poem could have been Bangles, the colors of bangles, and so on, the various certain things which talks more about, or which makes people think more about the bangles rather than thinking about the bangle seller, which is not mentioned over here in this poem. Then we see that the Bangle Seller obviously is a very simple poem. The lyrics and everything is very simple. Though they are simple, they are evocative and lyrical, and there is little contemporary value. Because why is it little contemporary value? Because there is nothing mentioned as per the modern society. In the modern Indian society, especially in the urban areas, many women have not even seen the bangle sellers in big cities. Moreover, even if they have seen, they do not feel that excited with the bangle sellers being around them, or they are not into that buying of the traditional bangles. They might take bracelets or some other things, but not a proper, you can say, glass bangles from a street vendor. So these are the things which are not relevant over there, and it also shows a patriarchal society which is basically not so prevalent, especially in the urban areas where women has this hard-earned position of standing or sitting next to her husband, and the husband being the leader of the family, and the woman is just a piece of, you can say, adorning, and it should be that she should be submissive to her husband, and just the biggest achievement is getting a son to herself, as well as looking after her husband's household. So these are not the things which you cannot see much prevalent in the modern society. So that is why it has least contemporary value. Even in the smaller cities also, it is not prevalent, most of the things which I have mentioned over here in the poem. So that is why we can say it is not a totally obsolete poem, but it is a poem which relates to the olden times of Indian society. Then we talk about the form of the poem. The form is basically a lyrical form, and the special thing is the rhymic scheme. Although we have seen, we can see long paragraphs in the poem, but these long paragraphs, they have a rhymic meter of A, A, B, B, C, C. That means all the particular in the entire paragraph there are couplets, 2-line couplets. That means first and second, third and fourth, fifth and sixth, they match with each other, the last words. Why is it done so? Because it is in a form of lyrical form, so that a fast rhythm and melodious effect could be generated if the poem is sung. So that is why it is in a form of couplet rhyme. Couplet rhyme means the 2 lines match with each other. Then here we can say imagery is here, that all the beautiful images I told you earlier, all the beautiful images of nature are taken to represent the beauty, the color, the, you can say, happiness, and all the inner feelings of a woman. Here we see a few important things that have been mentioned in the poem, that is the similes as well as the metaphors. That are some of the important things that are asked in the poem question answers, and you get confused what particular thing is a simile and which one are the metaphors. Here I am talking about similes. You can see the Bangle Seller is no exception. It has a lot of use of similes, and among them first is silver and blue as the mountain mist. So silver and blue as the mountain mist shows the freshness. Some are flushed like the buds that dream. So this is basically the beautiful vibrant colors are shown over here as simile. Remember, this particular thing is also a metaphor also. Flushed like the birds that dream is basically a metaphor for the young maiden who are dreaming about their future, like the birds that buds, B-U-D-S, buds that dream. Next is some are, there are 3 similes in the 3rd stanza also, like some are like field of sunlit corn. The brightness and the colorful yellow is shown over here. Some like the flame of a marriage fire, warm feelings, excitement, happiness. Like her bridal laughter and bridal tear, these are images of sound, and it causes the, you can say, inner passions of a bride. So here we can see even different pictures of sound and sight are shown over here. Sound is basically bridal laughter, bridal tears, and laughter and you can say sight is basically the silver and blue mountain mist and flushed like the buds. All those things are basically your different ways of portraying the nature's pictures in the sight and the sound. Now we move on to the important part, and that is the explanation of the poem, and that is paragraph wise. So I'll be reading it out for you. It says, The Bangle Seller by Sarojini Naidu. Bangle sellers are we who bear our shining loads to the temple fair. Who will buy these delicate, bright, rainbow-tinted circles of light, lustrous tokens of radiant lives for happy daughters and happy wives? So here we are talking in the first 2 lines about the bangle sellers who are bearing their shiny loads. Shining loads are basically a metaphor used for the, you can say, bangles that have been used or that are being carried by the bangle seller from one place to another, from their home to the temple fair, and from the temple fair to other particular marketplace, wherever they can get some buyers for it. And this particular bangle seller is singing out a song in a way to lure the audience and customers, or potential customers. So here the bangle seller is asking who will buy these delicate and bright colored rainbow tinted circles of light. Rainbow tinted circles of light also talks about the bangles, which are of different colors made up of glass. So when the sun ray falls on it, it gives as a prism effect, it radiates different colors or shines in its own color as well, you can say. Lustrous token of radiant lives, so they are shining, giving out a luster, they are giving out a particular color shine. that also radiates the happiness and the shine of the life of the one who's wearing it or the one who wears it. For happy daughters and happy wives means if you have certain particular thing, a woman and a daughter has this particular bangle and it shines beautifully, makes her feel even more special and beautiful. It shows the happiness she derives through these bangles, and this is something which becomes as a cause of their happiness, and as it also shows their happiness in different stages of their life. Next paragraph. Some are meet for a maiden's wrist, silver and blue as the mountain mist. Some are flushed like the buds that dream on the tranquil brow of a woodland stream. Some are aglow with the bloom that cleaves to the limpid glory of newborn leaves. Over here we see, so this stanza talks about the beautiful bangles which are basically meant for the young maiden's wrist, and these particular colors of the bangles which have been mentioned, or you can say especially designated to the maidens, are basically your silver and blue. They show the freshness of a new life, of a young you can say young virgin, and these are basically like a mountain mist. They are pure, serene, beautiful, and something that brings freshness with her. It shows a young small daughter turning into a young woman, a maidenhood, and that is something which shows the pink or the green as it is shown in the beautiful serene streams in the forest, in the woodland. And it shows that these birds are, when they before blooming, they are in a dream, and so the maidens are always in a dream of their happy married life, of their future, what things they are going to have in their future. So all those things are in their dreams, and so they dream about their future just like the birds over here. Next we talk about the third stanza. First stanza is about the introduction, second stanza is about the maiden, third stanza talks about the third stage of the life, when a woman, a maiden, is getting married, is about to get married or gets married. So here it is. Some are like fields of sunlit corn, meet for a bride on her bridal morn. Some like the flame of a marriage fire, or rich with hue of her heart's desire, tinkling luminous, tender and clear, like her bridal laughter and bridal tear. So over here all the colors are mentioned which are related to a bride and her wedding day. Like in the Indian scenario, you can talk about the various ceremonies that are performed before the marriage, like haldi and mehendi and so on. So these fields of corn, sunlit corn, the yellow talks about somewhat related to haldi, you can say, and all those things. The yellow is basically a color of joy, the yellow is color of freshness, yellow is color of, you can say, fun-filled mornings. Even a house where a daughter is getting married is filled with all the marigold flowers. They are yellow in color. So this all freshness, happiness, joy, they are represented by this particular yellow color bangles which women wear. Then there are brides. You can say hands are filled with red bangles, and these bangles are those which shows her, which represents like her inner feelings of these are the bangles of the marriage fire. They can be red, orange, all these things, and red basically desires the passion and the feelings she has in her heart, and they are of love and, you can say, passionate feeling for her husband and her new life. And so over here we can say that tinkling, luminous, tender and clear, these bangles are making slight sounds, tinkling sounds, and these delicate sounds are basically, you can say, taken as a symbolic or representing the tender feelings of her heart at this time also, which are basically shown by the, you can say, imagery of sound, and that is the bridal tears when she is crying because she has to leave her parents, and bridal laughter when she is being shy, when she is just feeling very happy as she is starting a new life full of her dreams for a different phase of her life, all those things. So these are the emotions and feelings which are shown by the slight laughter and slight smile and tears, which are called shown over here by the tinkling and the luminous sounds of the bangles. Next we have fourth paragraph. Some are purple and gold flecked grey, for she who has journeyed through life midway, whose hands have cherished, whose love had blessed, and cradled fair sons on her faithful breast, and serve her household in fruitful pride, and worship the gods at her husband's side. Now, lastly, we move on to the age where a woman has journeyed halfway through her life. You can say always she's a lady of 40 or 50 plus years of age, and she has journeyed halfway her life. That means she has cherished many moments, many blessings. She has looked after her sons with her faithful breast, means nursing them, milk, giving them milk, feeding them, and looking after her sons, and then serves her household in fruitful pride. She takes pride in taking out all her duties in her house, managing her household, her husband's house, her husband's, you can say her in-laws, her family there. And as a result, now she is at a particular stage of honor where she worships the gods at her husband's side. She has her husband next to her, and she takes pride sitting over there doing performing the ceremonies, and she is blessed with all the various blessings a woman can get as sons, husband, a family, a household, and managing them, looking after them, being the, or you can say the owner and the leader of the house inside the house. And that is what women were supposed to do at that time. So these particular kind of women, they are glorified, they are honored by the colors like purple, and they are gold flecked gray. So these colors, they show the grave or the seriousness or a particular maturity in the life of these women, as well as the dignity, because obviously purple is the color of royalty, a royal color. So you can say this shows the position they have reached in their life, where at a particular stage they have gained all the respect. And these are the colors which are basically to pay a respect to these lives who have done so much for their families. So these are the various stages of life that the poet has mentioned in the poem to show, and how these lives or these stages are, you can say, represented through the various colors of the bangles. That itself shows you can say very unique way of representing the life and the stages of life through various colors and the emotions that are depicted by those colors. So with this we come to the end of the explanation of the poem The Bangle Seller. And with after this, in the next module, we'll be discussing the question answers, the workbook question answers of this particular poem. So with this we come to the end of the module. Thank you.